Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. OccupyISS update or whatever. Way back when I was a little teenager, yeah, over 40 years ago, yes. Good old Thoreau, one of those people that stepped out against society controlling how people live. Why should we be in such desperate haste to succeed and in such desperate enterprises? If a man does not keep pace with his companions, because perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. And what's social status, folks? It's about how many followers you have. What's a religion about? It's about how many followers you have. What's nationalism about? It's about how many people blindly follow a government leader, or leaders, as in most cases, into war, murder, killing, disgusting behavior, pollution, things like the nuclear industry, which when they first started getting it started, folks, they knew radiation was deadly. Because if you look on a watch dial and it has those little glowing dots in the dark, that is a radioactive isotope. That is actually a little bit of uranium making it glow, if I remember correctly. And back when they used to put those on by hand, the person had their brush and they would dip those things in. Obviously, they were very little things. So every once in a while, the person would stick the brush in their mouth to pull it down to a fine point. Yeah, they were eating the polluting radioactive material. They were literally, as part of their job, putting it in. To their mouths and digesting it, killing themselves, yes. And they were doing it all for money. They had no concept of what they were doing, but the bosses knew that because they had to replace these people every couple of years, no matter what, that something on the job was killing them. But it was far cheaper to let the person just drop dead and put a kid in there and let the kid learn how to do it, and when the kid dropped dead about 20 years old, no problem, you throw another one in there. Okay, so that's why I say there's a lot of things in your society that you automatically do, because if you couldn't logically understand that then, if you could not logically understand that coal miners got black lung, which is carcinogenic, then blowing coal ash into the wind, moving coal trains thousands upon thousands of miles openly, releasing coal dust as they cruise around. If you cannot comprehend that lead in gasoline or chemicals that come out of the use of gasoline like SO2, which in the 50s and 60s was what everybody was screaming about in environmentalism. And in 1971, USA became the petrodollar reserve currency of the world. And everybody has to follow what USA says or else. OPEC plays USA games, not the other way around. Why do you think USA gives Saudi Arabia, which is a royal family, I won't say matriarchy or patriarchy, it's just simply a royal family, that literally murders anybody it wants to around the world because it's OPEC. Yeah, it doesn't matter which of those countries you go bother with, you'll find they all do the same thing. Saudi Arabia, of course, is over there blowing the snot out of Yemen for no reason, other than the fact that somebody wants to put a pipeline through their backyard. Yeah. North America, of course, we had the no dabble, and Trump got trunk full of lies. Trump's out there, and first thing he did, his first presidential order was to authorize military action against indigenous people on land granted them from their original land by an invading force, with using military, chemical warfare, biological warfare, guns and bombs and lies and whatever they could to steal all the land. What did Latin America become Latin America for? Because Rome sent conquerors, the Roman sword, like I said, you look on the Bible, there's that cross. You look up on top of those churches, there's that cross. You look around at all the followers, what do they got? They got a cross with a dead body hanging on it around their neck. They worship death. They worship the sword. They worship conquering. What do I have? I have a wound. Actually, I have multiple wounds, but the one big wound here. As you can see, by the way, yes, the skin is closing in the hole there. You know, it is... Ow, don't do that. It is, you know, tender and all, as you just saw. But, you know, it is filling in the quarter-inch gap there from where this line and that dark line of mash is at. I'm not quite certain what's under here. Part of that is stiff enough as to why this isn't doing anything. But, you know, I'm still flecking it, moving it, but you can see that it is actually growing flesh in there. I am, you know, quite healthy. You know, there are no major infections or anything. So obviously, as a single person, the proof is in the hands here, and the fact that I'm talking to you, that I'm very logical, I'm very sane, I know medical, I know science, I know law, I know, you know, how to build an empire, you know, literally in space. I have made comments that have, you know, told the world, hey, get up and listen, because the whole entire United States military is preparing to go to war against me in space right now. One-man revolution, and I have, how big of an army is the United States? Oh yeah, is the biggest military on the planet with the biggest amount of money spent selling weapons to other countries. The Microsoft, of course, acknowledged that, yeah, I'm probably quite right. Microsoft and Apple would get you killed up there. We need Linux. Here's 60,000 patents to protect Linux from lawsuits so that they can develop some way of saving the 1% elite rich from whatever. So, I am, like I say, proving that A, this is all very real. B, that my good old title card here, that the math of ESP, by putting yourself behind making a change, as Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. I'm making a change. The gods walked up to me, you know, in February of this year and said, hey, Pete, the people here are too busy being arrogant. They're too busy walking around and arguing that their pet little thing is more important. They cannot even comprehend globalizing all of the environmental, all of the spiritual healers into one massive thing. They will get together for a couple hours of meditation, but actually all of you work together. Forget about sending out notices of, oh look, there's another Republican voted in, there's another Democrat voted in. We've got to raise money to, you know, do something about this person. Good or bad, it doesn't make any difference. They want money on both sides for every reason you can think of. But instead of going around and sending out billions of emails about needing money, why don't you send out billions of emails about what one person has accomplished in less than a year? I got the Vatican on the run. I got the Mexican government on the run, because the crimes of this town date back to 1632. That's almost 400 years, folks. If there is no statute of limitations on murder, and especially to the gods, There is no country that sits there and says, oh yeah, if you murder somebody and 3 weeks later we haven't caught you, you can get off scot-free. No. Your Geneva Convention doesn't allow it. Your Geneva Convention does not even allow a society to turn its back on Syria, Palestine, Yemen, people like me, Assange, Snowden, the thousands of people. Time magazine, by the way. Oh, another one man changes the world. My energy is out there flowing. What is Time's magazine's person of the year? It is the independent, and not even, I won't even say independent, it is the investigative journalists and photojournalists who have been arrested and killed in the line of work. What am I? I am an investigative photojournalist under threat of death from the United States government, so I cannot go to them for help. I am physically, obviously, under threat of death by the Mexican police in this town and the Vatican Church, who upholds the idea that this town uses murder for profit. So you see, one person can make a difference in the world. One person can get out there. So if you all stop ranting and raving about your particular little thing, and you all sit there and say, Greenpeace is for, Rainbow Warriors is for, Peter Vanderhoof is for all life. I don't care if it's a mosquito, I don't care if it's Ebola, I don't care if it's a human being or a whale or anything else. It's all life on your planet. Let's see what we can do about getting the whole thing together. Okay? Because honestly, how many millions of people have stood around from before Da Vinci's time? Even your Bible, Jesus got out and did something. He didn't hide. He didn't bow and pray to anything. He got out there and walked and talked it according to the book. That you, oh, it's so truthful. I'll never read it, but it's so truthful. Like I say, spiritual gifts. 1 Corinthians 12. Read the whole thing. Who gives it? The spiritual realm does. What right does any priest have to tell me I don't have Revelations 2:17? Especially if that priest has never stepped in front of a god. What right would any pope or imam or president or psychologist or therapist? I got 58 years of working as a healer. I rather seriously doubt you're going to find any psychologist that has spent 58 years studying a person before they prescribe their happy drugs. You know what I mean? Life can be different.